Hello, fellow Earthlings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to discuss the power of our minds and the biology of belief. This has been shown time and time again to be a very powerful form of medicine. There was an interesting case from 1957 found in the Journal of Protective Techniques describing a mysterious medical patient whom the doctors called Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright battled an advanced stage of cancer of the lymph nodes, but unfortunately, the treatment had failed completely. His neck, chest, armpits, and groin were swollen with tumors the size of oranges. His lungs were filled with fluid that had to be drained every day just to keep him breathing. He was completely bedridden in the hospital and given only a few days left to live. Mr. Wright seemed to have been an intellect who enjoyed reading medical journals. He remembered reading about a brand new miracle drug called carbamazepine, which was in the process of clinical trials. Mr. Wright got it in his head that this drug was going to save him, and he begged his doctors to treat him with it. The doctors declined him at first, softly, telling him he was just too sick. The clinical trials were for those with at least 3 months to live. But Wright would not let up. He was insistent on getting this drug. The doctors finally agreed just to really appease him. So they took this experimental drug and they injected him with it. 3 days later, the doctors walked in to find Mr. Wright sitting up, joking with the nurses, appearing to be completely normal. His tumors had shrunk in half in just 3 days. Within 10 days of receiving this injection, Mr. Wright was completely tumor and cancer free. The doctors stated that his tumors melted away like snowballs. He was free to go home. This was very puzzling to the doctors, as another patient in the hospital was treated with the same drug for a similar condition, but he showed zero signs of improvement. Several months later, a completely cancer-free Mr. Wright was flipping through the medical journals, the latest medical journals, which had an update on the drug carbamazepine. The update wasn't good. The conclusion on carbamazepine was that the drug did not work. Mr. Wright was devastated. He saw this drug as his savior. Mr. Wright fell into a deep depression, and immediately the tumors that were completely gone returned. Once again, Wright was back in the hospital, dying. His doctors felt bad for him. He seemed so broken, having fully recovered, only to have the cancer come back a few months later. Wright's doctors saw this broken man. They decided to concoct a story just to bring him a sense of peace. The doctors told him that there was an error in these long-term trials. They told him it was discovered that the drug deteriorated over a period of time. It essentially had a poor shelf life that affected the quality of the drug, which had caused the failure in the long-term trials. The doctors then told Wright that they had a brand new ultra-pure batch of the drug that they could inject him with if he wanted. This was all a lie. They were just saying this to make him feel better. But of course, Mr. Wright wanted this ultra pure batch, so the doctors injected him with saline water. To everyone's shock, Mr. Wright's cancer completely disappeared again. He was completely cancer-free, tumor-free once again, and was sent home. Unfortunately, the doctor's cover was blown a few months later when the American Medical Association announced that a large study was done, and it showed that the drug carbamazepine was completely useless in the treatment of cancer. So what do you think happened? Mr. Wright, who was completely cancer-free prior to hearing this news, immediately got sick with all of his tumors returning. He was dead in 2 days. He was cancer-free completely. He heard the news, and within 48 hours, the cancer returned rampantly, and he died. This is such an interesting case because it was so extreme. Mr. Wright is a perfect example of the biology of belief. What he believed literally cured him of cancer, and what he believed also caused his cancer to return, giving him cancer. We know that the drug carbamazepine had nothing to do with whether he was going to be cancer-free or not. His belief played a bigger factor than anything else. Let's take another angle. What about when a doctor delivers a prognosis within a specific time frame for survival to a patient? It is amazing how accurately the patient lives up to that stated time frame. So for example, say a doctor tells a patient that they have 3 months to live, and that patient ends up living for only about 3 months. Are the doctors just amazingly accurate when making these estimates? Or are the doctors' estimates creating a psychological expectation in the patient's mind that they are simply living up to? Oh. Most of us have heard of the placebo effect, right? The placebo effect is a positive response that occurs when a person believes they are receiving a beneficial treatment, even if the treatment itself is invalid. So, like you gave a patient something like a sugar pill, right? The placebo effect demonstrates the power of positive belief when it comes to healing. But who has heard of the nocebo effect? The nocebo effect is the opposite. It is a negative outcome resulting from negative expectations. So, a doctor telling a patient that they have only 3 months to live and that patient living only 3 months would be a nocebo effect. It has been proven time and time again that our mindsets profoundly influence our health and well being. This concept is studied within epigenetics. Epigenetics is a mind-blowing field of study that explores how our behaviors and our environment can cause changes affecting the way our genes function. These changes can last through cell divisions and even across multiple generations. They do not alter our underlying DNA sequence, but they do cause genes to behave differently. These changes rather influence how our body reads and interprets the DNA sequence. I am a huge Dr. Bruce Lipton fan. Bruce Lipton is a stem cell biologist and a medical researcher. He is also an author and a public speaker. I saw him this past January at the Consciousness concert. I got to meet him. He's even more wonderful in person. I have his book, which I got signed. It's called The Biology of Belief. I'm in the middle of the book, so I cannot fully speak on the whole thing quite yet. But in the book, Dr. Lipton challenges the conventional view that our genes and DNA control our biology. Instead, he shows research that suggests our DNA is influenced by signals from outside the cell, including our thoughts and emotions. He really examines how our beliefs and perceptions impact our cellular behavior. There are energetic messengers emanating from positive and negative thoughts, and these messages seem to play a significant role in shaping our physical biology. The mind-body connection is being studied in a magnitude of ways. All of the research in this field suggests that our mental states can influence immune function, our hormone levels, and our gene expression. Our mind can clearly create disease or heal disease. We know this. Our minds aren't passive observers. They actively shape our perceptions, health, and experiences. So if our mind is that powerful, putting some effort into designing the mind would be at our best interest. Some of us are naturally born with a more positive outlook on life. Others attune more to the negative. My husband, for example, naturally has a more positive outlook on life. I myself can sometimes, not always, sometimes attune towards the negative. I can launch into an analysis or reasons for this, but ultimately it doesn't matter. It's more important to know that I can sometimes, not always, but sometimes attune more towards the negative. So it would be in my best interest to watch this and work on reframing thoughts and beliefs. I created a cognitive reframing worksheet that is available for free on my website, holisticearthling.com, that can help with this process. The worksheet has you identify 4 thought patterns or stories that you regularly have. Then the worksheet has you replace each one with a more constructive thought or story. This allows you to shine light on this topic while pre-planning what you want to replace these thoughts and stories with. So it is easier to do in real time when you have them. We need to build that quantum bridge from the you now and the future you. A quantum leap or a quantum jump is our ability to change these patterns. This is something I'm constantly working on. This is the first step towards any type of physical transformation. The first step is always see yourself well. If this channel resonates, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so we can engage together. Until next time, to thine own self be true.